American Fiction. So a few weeks back, prior to the health-related issues that I mentioned that my family's going through right now, my wife and I wanted to do one of our favorite things, which is go to the movies. It's one of the things we really enjoy doing together. And we saw American Fiction, which was so good to me on a few different levels. It's about a novelist who, this is the official summary, it's about a novelist who's fed up with the establishment profiting from black entertainment, and he uses a pen name to write a book that propels him into the heart of the hypocrisy and madness he claims to disdain. Before we get into my little recap, let's shout out the writers, as we do here on the Spun Today Podcast, because if we don't, who will? American Fiction was written by Cord Jefferson and Percival Everett. Shout out to them for putting this together. It was also directed by Cord Jefferson. Now, it has a great all-star cast, starting with the main protagonist, Thelonious Monk Ellison, played by Jeffrey Wright. Lisa Ellison, his sister, played by Tracy Ellis Ross. Arthur, who is the publisher of Thelonious's character, played by John Ortiz. Coraline, who plays a love interest of Thelonious, played by Erica Alexander. Issa Rae is in it. She also plays a writer. Centaura Golden. Keith David plays Willy the Wonker. It's like a funny little parody scene within the movie itself. I really like the Myra Lucretia Taylor plays Lorraine. She's like the housekeeper / caretaker for the mother. Agnes Ellison, played by Leslie Uggams. It was such a good film. So it follows Thelonious Monk Ellison, who's a writer, and he plays like this jaded writer that is a little snobby about his writing. You know, he's respected by his peers, but he definitely doesn't make money, or at least not a lot of it. And he's snobby towards the genre of writer that seems to just be writing to the market. And Issa Rae's character, Centaura Golden, is one of these writers, which makes a beautiful case for it. And there's a scene where they have a dialogue with each other, back and forth, and makes a strong, understandable case for writing to the market. Because there are writers like that, right? There are writers and creators like that literally only write to and for a specific market. There are podcasters like that as well, that, they'll do Google trending searches, for example, and say, oh, X, Y, and Z is trending, let me do a podcast episode about that. Or writers that write to, oh, what's popular now? Vampires, made of glitter, that also own a knitting factory. Okay, let me write a story about that. And they'll literally write a novel, a book, a short story, whatever, about that. That's called writing to the market. And then you have other folks that write for the art of it, that write what they want to write, whether it's popular or not. I think I would fall more into that camp. And they speak about what they want to speak about, so on and so forth. And it's not passing judgment on either. Both are the creator's prerogative. But Monk's character is one that has disdain for the folks like Issa Rae's character, Centaura Golden, who is literally just writing for the market. And her case was essentially, if there is a market, if there are people that want to read this type of stuff that you call, trash or fast food type of writing, and I'm able to create that for them to fill that demand and make a living while doing it, why is that, why are you shitting on that? What's wrong with that? And the answer to that is essentially, there is nothing wrong with that. That's, the choice of that creator, that writer, and also the choice of that consumer to consume whatever the fuck they want to consume, right? But what I love for it from this writing, this shining the light on this area of writing and creating, is that the type of stories she's writing are thought to be racist and over the top and highlighting stereotypes of African Americans. And she's doing a reading, for example, and she's speaking normally, and then being interviewed, and then she's reading an excerpt from her story, and then she's like, oh yeah, sure, I would love to read an excerpt, let me share this passage here. And then she starts reading, quote, hey yo, Sharonda, you's pregnant again at 19 years old? What is that, your 8th baby mama? Shit like that. She's writing in the book. And then Thelonious Monk's character is has like such disdain and grossed out and like, what the fuck, how is this selling? So he, as like a kind of to like shit on his certain publishers that don't want to like publish him anymore. And Arthur, by the way, is not his publisher, it's his agent, the character played by John Ortiz. He decides to write this like over the top hood, like spoof almost, and submit that to the publishers that don't want to publish his other work, because again, it's not selling. The publishers are in the market are in the business of making money, so they're like the embodiment of creating for the market, minus the creating part. They're just like peddling. But I digress. He submits it as kind of like a fuck you to them, and they wind up loving it, and they want to. And he submits it like under a pen name. And Arthur, his agent, calls him. He's like, "Yo, they want to publish it." And he's like, "Really? They want to publish my book?" He thinks it's his like other book that he wrote. The more like snooty writing and the shit that he's into, his literary fiction, if you will. And John Ortiz's character Arthur, he's like, "No, the other book that you sent me over under the pen name." And they want to give you a $250,000 advance or something. Like, I forget the exact number. That might be it. But he's like, "What?" He's like, I'm not gonna do that shit. What are you, fucking crazy? That was supposed to be a joke. But Monk's character is in a situation where this is another layer of the story where it really resonated with me. His mother, Agnes, is elderly. Her memory is starting to slip. They take her to, and they confirm that it's like her early stages of dementia. My father, as I mentioned here in the pod, has dementia, so that definitely resonated. And as well as him and Tracy Ellis Ross, which is his sister, and they have a third brother, Clifford Ellison, played by Sterling K. Brown. But they're like, between siblings, they're dealing with the fact of balancing the responsibilities of taking on the fact that their parents are getting older, that their parents are getting sick, and how are they going to balance that, and what's that going to mean moving forward, and who's taking on which responsibilities, how are they going to tackle all of the issues that need to be tackled and taken care of. And that's something that definitely hit home, and something that we all inevitably deal with to one degree or another. So he's in this situation where they need the money to confront, like the changing and added responsibilities in their lives, with their mom being sick. And he's out to a lunch with his sister, and they're speaking about these things, trying to iron out certain details, and speaking about how money's tight all around. And then his sister, right then and there, literally has a heart attack while they're having lunch, out of the blue. Tracy Ellis Ross's character, which sucked that she like died, like, spoiler alert, so early in the story, which just threw another curveball and an added need for him to get money, because the other brother, he's like going through a divorce with his family, kind of like a midlife crisis, coming out the closet, like, type of thing. He's like selfish and doing drugs and more of a burden than a help, you know what I mean? So it all kind of falls on Jeffrey Wright's character. But then he has this dilemma where he definitely really needs the money, which Arthur, his agent, is highlighting to him to take care of his mom, but also his creative beliefs and what he feels about, like, his integrity, his creative integrity, is being thrust into this situation as well, right? He doesn't want to publish that, but ultimately he does, begrudgingly. And at the same time, I felt that situation does a great job of being like social commentary for what's wrong with the virtue signaling. And you have these two agents from the publishing company who are white and just like thrilled to speak to the writer, which again was under a pen name, and he just kept playing it up and making it more absurd. He was like, "Yeah, I'm an ex-con. I don't do interviews because I'm still running from the law. I'm running from the man," and this and that or whatever. And they were just like eating it up, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is so authentic. This is so real." And it was like cool to see like that highlighting of that type of like hypocrisy of what happens when, writing to a market or just like doing something ultimately for financial gain alone, like when that runs amok, like just highlighting all that is wrong with that type of mentality. And not to be mistaken with that is all wrong, but what could be wrong with only thinking that way. Lorraine's character, she was so sweet, played by Myra Taylor. she's the like home health aide caretaker of the mom, and has obviously like been with the family for like years, so to the point that she's like family. She was like such a sweetheart. And I felt like the ultimate like full circle moment for him, for Monk's character, was a couple of things. Like on a personal level, you know, being more open, being, you know, letting your guards down a bit, letting people in to your life, letting them love you. He was very guarded, very cagey, pushed people away, which is not an uncommon trait for a writer or some types of creatives. You know, you're kind of sort of always in your own head, and you end up doing things like that even without noticing at times. I know I definitely have. And then from a professional level, the full circle for his character was that ultimately he wanted and needed money, but also wanted the validation that comes with the recognition of all your peers and being thought of as this amazing writer. And he kind of sort of came to the realization that these are two different worlds, and it's okay. You know what I mean? It's not like an either or type of situation. It's the ideal circumstance that you can do like your artsy fartsy type of writing, and everybody and their mother would love it, and it would be mainstream and niche at the same time, and you'd be a literary hero and a millionaire at the same time. Like, sure, but very unlikely that would ever be the type of situation that you would be in as a creative. But there is a happy medium with, again, coming to terms with the fact that maybe not always, but often it would be a separate, different type of approach to creating. And that part of the charm, if you will, of being on a creative journey is finding that the happy medium where you are able to create without compromising your artistic integrity, if you will, and also make some money while doing so, which will help facilitate you being able to do more of what it is that you love to do, which is the writing and creating. And if sometimes you wind up sliding to the left of that spectrum a little bit and going more towards the making money side, and then sliding back to the right a little bit and going more towards the doing what you love side, then so be it. As long as you ultimately stay within that happy medium, which should be the place where you're most happy, I think is the ultimate creative goal. At least I feel like that's what it is for me. Anyway, tons and tons and tons that I related to in this movie. I highly recommend it. American Fiction, check it out.